It was the kind of night that small towns like Canton never forget. A biting wind slicing through the quiet streets, a light drizzle painting the asphalt silver under the streetlights. Laura Kent, a 23-year-old waitress at Harper's Diner, had just finished her late shift. She was exhausted but cheerful, joking with her co-worker, Maddie, about the jukebox that wouldn't stop skipping. The diner was closing up, neon lights flickering in the windows, the hum of the refrigerator echoing in the silence. Laura clocked out at 11:47 p.m., wrapped her scarf tight, and stepped into the cold night. The security camera outside the diner caught her last image, smiling, holding her keys, walking toward her car. By morning, Laura's absence was impossible to ignore. Her roommate, Claire, woke up to find her bed untouched, her coat still missing, her favorite red mug still sitting in the sink. She called the diner, then the police, her voice trembling as she reported Laura missing. Hours later, officers discovered her car 2 miles from the diner on an empty service road that led toward Canton Lake. The same road locals avoided after dark. The driver's door was unlocked, keys still dangling in the ignition, and Laura's purse sat neatly on the passenger seat, untouched. No footprints, no tire tracks, no sign of a struggle. Just silence and the faint smell of wet pine. That night, search teams scoured the woods and lakefront with flashlights and dogs, their beams slicing through the fog like ghostly spotlights. Nothing. Not a scrap of clothing, not a single clue. Her friends and family clung to hope, standing in the cold for hours, calling her name until their voices broke. In a town as small as Canton, people knew each other's faces, stories, and secrets. But this disappearance was different. It felt calculated, clean, as if someone had planned every second of it. And for the first time in decades, the town that prided itself on safety started to feel cursed. In the weeks following Laura's disappearance, the Canton Police Department was consumed by the case. Detectives interviewed nearly everyone who had ever crossed paths with her. Co-workers from the diner, ex-boyfriends, neighbors, even the mailman who delivered her letters. Search parties combed through the woods, the riverbank, and abandoned farmhouses miles from town. Flyers with Laura's picture, smiling in her blue waitress uniform, were plastered on every storefront, church bulletin board, and lamppost. The media swarmed Canton, painting it as Ohio's small town of shadows. But despite the frenzy, not a single lead took hold. Every tip fizzled into rumor, every witness's memory blurred by time or fear. By the 3rd month, the search had become routine, and routine slowly turned into resignation. Detective Raymond Cole, the lead investigator, refused to give up at first. He worked sleepless nights, reviewing security footage frame by frame, revisiting witnesses who swore they'd seen nothing. But soon, even he began to lose faith. There was no evidence, no fingerprints, no trace of Laura's scent beyond the diner's parking lot. The case file thickened with theories but thinned in hope. Town gossip twisted the story into legend. Some said Laura had been taken by a truck driver passing through. Others believed she'd staged her own disappearance to escape an abusive relationship, though no one could ever prove she was in one. The truth was simpler and more haunting: Laura Kent had simply vanished. By 2001, 4 years later, the official case status changed to cold. The evidence box was sealed, tagged, and stored deep in the Canton Police Archives. For the community, life moved on, new faces, new businesses, new problems. But beneath that sense of normalcy, something remained broken. The people of Canton avoided that service road near the lake. The diner stopped staying open past 10 p.m. Parents began warning their daughters to never drive alone at night. And though Laura's name faded from the headlines, her absence lingered in every quiet night breeze that swept through the empty streets. A ghostly reminder of a mystery the town had buried, but never truly escaped. In early 2023, a new generation of detectives took over the Canton Police Department's Cold Case Division. Their mission was to digitize decades-old files, converting dusty evidence boxes into searchable digital archives. It was tedious work. Most cases were too old, too incomplete to lead anywhere. But then, a young forensic technician named Emily Carter stumbled upon a file that looked different. It was tucked behind a stack of unrelated cases, the label faded but still legible, Kent L., 1997. Inside the battered cardboard box were items sealed in plastic bags, a few photographs, a scrap of dark fabric, and a single hair strand. Emily hesitated. It wasn't much, but something about the careful way the evidence had been preserved felt intentional, as if someone back then had believed this case would one day matter again. Curiosity got the better of her. Emily ran the items through modern forensic analysis, technology that hadn't existed in 1997. DNA extraction methods had advanced beyond anything the original investigators could have imagined. She worked quietly, not wanting to stir up false hope, but but as the days passed, her instincts told her she was onto something. When she examined the fabric fragment under UV light, faint traces of blood glowed, too faint to have been detected by older methods. The single strand of hair, still sealed in its original plastic sleeve, held even greater promise. Emily packaged both samples carefully and submitted them for advanced testing at the state crime lab, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and dread. Weeks later, the results came back. The blood on the fabric matched Laura Kent's DNA, confirming it had indeed come from her car that night. But it was the hair sample that made Emily's hands tremble. The DNA profile didn't match Laura. It belonged to an unidentified male. The system flagged it as a potential match in the National Criminal Database. For over 25 years that evidence had sat untouched, forgotten, collecting dust in a corner of the archives, and now, it had begun to whisper secrets the town of Canton was never meant to hear. Secrets that were about to unravel everything the community thought it knew about the night Laura Kent disappeared. When the results came back, the air inside the Canton Police Department changed. The quiet hum of routine work was replaced by a tension so thick it almost hummed in the walls. The DNA extracted from that single strand of hair matched a man still living in town, Charles Donovan, a 61-year-old retired firefighter. The name hit every officer like a gut punch. Donovan wasn't just anyone, he was a local hero. For decades, he had been the kind of man people trusted without question. He'd saved children from burning homes, organized charity drives, and helped rebuild the old community center after the 2003 storm. His face had been on the front page of the Canton Herald more times than anyone could count. Always smiling, always dependable. So when his name appeared linked to Laura Kent's cold case, disbelief swept through the department like wildfire. Detective Emily Carter, the same technician who'd found the evidence, was called into an emergency meeting with the chief. Files were reopened, background checks updated, and within hours, a warrant was issued. When officers arrived at Donovan's neatly kept suburban home on Birchwood Lane, he was in his driveway washing his truck. Neighbors peeked through their curtains as police cars lined the street, lights flashing silently. Donovan didn't resist. In fact, he seemed eerily calm, even as officers cuffed him. "There must be some mistake," he said softly, his voice steady but his eyes cold. Reporters caught the arrest on camera, and by evening every news outlet in Ohio was running the headline, "Canton Hero Arrested in 1997 Cold Case." The town was shaken to its core. People gathered outside the police station in disbelief, some demanding answers, others defending him. Charles would never, an elderly woman cried on camera. He searched for that girl himself? And she was right. He had. Back in 1997, Donovan had volunteered in the search efforts, organizing groups to comb through the woods near Canton Lake. He'd been praised for his compassion, for bringing coffee to the exhausted officers working through the night. But as investigators dug into his past, inconsistencies started surfacing. Nights when his whereabouts couldn't be verified, reports of him being helpful at multiple missing persons cases across the state. The DNA match wasn't a fluke. It was the first crack in a facade that had hidden something monstrous in plain sight, right at the heart of Canton. During the interrogation, Charles Donovan maintained his calm demeanor at first. He spoke with the slow, measured tone of a man who had rehearsed his innocence for years. He told detectives that he remembered Laura Kent, that she was a sweet girl who often served him coffee at the diner after his late night shifts. He even claimed he joined the search efforts out of guilt for being one of the last people to see her alive. But as the hours stretched on, his story began to unravel. The detectives pressed harder, showing him the DNA results, the photos of Laura's car, the timeline that didn't fit. The once confident firefighter started to sweat, his breathing shallow, his voice trembling just enough to give himself away. After 12 hours in the interrogation room, Donovan finally broke, but his confession wasn't what anyone expected. He said Laura's death had been an accident, that she had seen something she wasn't supposed to. Those words sent a chill down the detectives' spines. What could Laura have possibly seen? Donovan refused to elaborate at first, muttering fragmented phrases. "It was already too late. She shouldn't have been there. They told me to keep quiet." The more he spoke, the more it sounded like he wasn't acting alone. Investigators obtained a search warrant for his property, and within 24 hours, a forensic team was combing through his home. His house looked normal, family photos, trophies, a perfectly trimmed lawn. But beneath that surface of normalcy, a darker layer waited to be unearthed. In the basement they discovered a hidden trapdoor concealed beneath old storage boxes. Behind it lay a narrow staircase descending into darkness. What they found below was beyond anything Canton's investigators had ever seen. The secret basement was lined with old newspapers, missing person posters, and Polaroid photos taped to the walls. There were items belonging to people who had vanished years, even decades, apart: a child's shoe from 1989, a silver locket from 2004, a torn backpack with initials that didn't match any known victim. It wasn't just Laura Kent's case anymore. It was a graveyard of stolen lives, hidden in plain sight beneath the home of a man everyone trusted. Donovan sat silently upstairs as officers moved in and out, his eyes blank, as though he'd already accepted that his long-kept secrets were finally seeing the light of day. And yet, something in his expression, a faint smirk as he was led away, told detectives they hadn't uncovered everything. As investigators pieced together the horrors found beneath Charles Donovan's home, one final discovery changed everything. Hidden inside an old wooden chest, wrapped in plastic and bound with twine, was a journal, filled with handwritten notes, names, and cryptic dates that stretched back nearly 30 years. Some entries described projects, others mentioned cleanups, and one dated October 12, 1997, the night Laura disappeared. Simply ready, she saw me, she knew. It was the last piece of the puzzle, confirming that Laura had stumbled upon something far bigger than anyone imagined. Donovan's arrest was only the beginning. In the weeks that followed, federal agents joined the investigation, reopening multiple cold cases across Ohio and neighboring states. The once quiet town of Canton became the epicenter of a nationwide mystery, as evidence hinted at a hidden network of crimes stretching far beyond one man. Reporters called it the fireman's shadow, a chilling reminder that evil can wear a smile, hold a badge, and shake your hand without you ever suspecting a thing. Families of the missing flocked to Canton, desperate for answers, as forensic teams worked day and night to connect the dots Donovan had left behind. And yet, even with the arrest, the DNA matches, and the confessions, one question still haunted everyone. Who was Donovan working for, or worse, with? Because in the final pages of that journal, a line was scrawled in shaky handwriting: "They're still out there. Watching. Waiting. The town of Canton may finally have uncovered its darkest secret. But the real terror might be the truth still buried beneath it." If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Most importantly, subscribe and hit the bell icon so the next secret finds you first.